What's up, wizards and warriors? Welcome to Armed and Dangerous. Tonight's episode is called How We Roll. We're diving deep into our D&D origin stories, the chaotic campaigns that shaped us, and why we're still here years later, despite the psychic damage. Whether you're brand new to the game or a seasoned player, grab your dice and questionable decisions, and let's roll.
So I'm Corey, and I am a permanent DM. And most people would say, unfortunately not. I actually love it. And I have with me here today, and I'll let you introduce yourself because you're a grown man.
Hello, everyone. I'm a grown man. My name's Josh. And I'm a player. And I'm one of Corey's players in his group.
Am I your only DM?
You are... No. Sorry, buddy. You're not my
cheated
first.
On me. You cheated on me. I was your first.
Andrew was my first.
Oh, Andrew was your first. He's going to be really proud of that.
He is.
Andrew,
he is.
Another one of our players.
That's what got me hooked.
Yeah, a.k.a. Flynn Harlock. He'll probably be on this show eventually as well. Andrew, you and I have been playing together for a long time. Gosh, how many times have we done Lost Mines of Phandelver? At least twice with you.
I've done it twice.
I've ran it 3 times.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And you'd think by the third time I'd be like, I'd have the big bad guy sorted out, but I felt like on our last session I let him flop a little bit. It was like you'd think third
you obliterated
time,
him.
Yeah, you obliterated him.
You rolled in there.
Yeah, he didn't even stand a chance. He had an awesome monologue, and then you guys, I think I just had too many beers that night, and you just got the best of me. So,
old person, man, it's an underrated spell. It really is.
Old person, yes. Gosh, so many a villain lost a old person.
But yes, Andrew was my first DM.
Okay, that's right.
That's what got me hooked. Was that first night?
Well, tell me about that. So, what was the exact moment you knew you were into D&D?
So I think it was just a random night. I was visiting you in town, and you were like, "We're playing D&D that night, so if you want to join us, you can." And I was like, "Hell yeah, that sounds fun! Like, I'm down."
You had no character created.
I had no character. Yeah. I had no idea how to play. Like, I just knew of D&D. And so I think on the way there, you're like, think of some characters that you like would maybe want to play. And I think you gave me some like ideas, some templates and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I chose to be an orc barbarian named Grog. Hey man, I don't like this. How's it going, everybody?
Grog.
And so I came to the table with Grog as that. And I mean, as soon as I jumped in and we started playing, I was right in the middle of y'all's group. You had to go to a castle, and somebody was in jail. You were in jail, actually. Your character was in prison. Yeah, and the rest of the group was coming to free you. And the way Andrew tied me into the story is that I was in the jail cell next to you. And I think those first couple of rolls, it's when I realized that, oh, this is an expansive world where, unlike a video game when you were limited by what the developers put in the game for you to do, D&D's not like that.
No.
If you have a crazy idea and you want to try it, you can. And if you roll well enough, it's probably going to be hilarious. And I think that's what hooked me, was just that very idea that the world, for lack of a better phrase, is your oyster, and the dice is what decide whether your outcome is good or bad.
And I think you'd have a lot of people, myself included, I think you would have a lot of people tell you, once you play D&D, it does kind of dampen video games a little bit. I know it has for me. Like, I mean, there's still some that I go to, like Skyrim or Baldur's Gate is a big filler when I don't have D&D in my life. Baldur's Gate 3, I think, for a lot of people, not only introduced them into D&D mechanics, but potentially, like, helps those of us that can't play all the time get a taste of it. I know you and I beat the campaign 1.5 times together, just filling that void until we got our most recent session together. Well, let's backtrack a little bit for a player's perspective. You said it was your first time playing, and I mean, this was several years ago at this point. Prior to that, what were your notions of D&D? What did you not having any idea of really what it was, what did you think about D&D as like a foreigner to it, if you will, having never played it before?
Yeah, I think the only notion that I had about the game was that, I mean, essentially it was a fantasy board game and you rolled dice and, you could pick your characters. So, I mean, I had been exposed to some of it, but I had never seen people play and I'd never played myself. So I had zero idea on what to expect. And really, I think I had no idea like what the role play would be like, because I'd never seen anyone do that, or I'd never done it myself in a game like a board game like that. And so, for me, it was like, oh yeah, that's like just the old dice board game from the '80s, and it's like fantasy, and
Yeah.
I probably at that point, and I think this was a lot of people's intro to D&D, Stranger Things, watching them play,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the show, that was probably about as much knowledge as I'd had
Well, what's
in the
funny
game.
to have being a now permanent DM to some degree, having gone down this road so far into this universe that is D&D, and then to look back on how I stumbled into it, even watching Stranger Things, I didn't realize that that's what they were playing. Like,
Oh yeah,
I was so foreign to it. I
yeah.
think that for me,
Oh,
no, go ahead.
actually no, back up. It was Community,
Community, yes, that's exactly where I
that,
was going.
the show Community. That,
Yes.
yeah, that's the first time I was exposed to it, and I was like, "What is going on? Is
One,
that what it's really
yeah,
like?"
one of the only episodes, and obviously they took it to a whole nother level. But
Yeah.
Community was one that kind of opened my eyes to it. But I hadn't, kind of growing up in the church, if you will, the whole satanic panic behind it, idea behind it. I'm really like, no, most of it's people throwing ales at people in taverns, or punching goblins in the throat. Like, it has nothing to do with what you think it is. And I think for me to sit at the same table with you, because I was fresh into it then too, to sit at that same table, I was kind of like, man, like, I'd had a few more sessions under my belt at that point, but I was like, man, this is so different than anything I've ever done before with a group of people.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what hooked me, was just the idea that, like, I'm in a day and age, and I'll show my age here, but in a day and age of people glued to their phones and constantly just distracted by the world, their jobs, whatever. Some things are just normal distractions that just get you caught up in life. But to sit around in a group of people and forget about all that for a little bit, I was done for. I was just like, this is never
Yeah.
leaving my life. I'll always find a way to do this.
It's incredible. And I remember, you know, sitting around with you guys and you have your first big role where you're trying to do something crazy, and the energy that we all had while that's happening
Yeah.
is it hooks you. It really does. Like, you really get wrapped up in it, and you get wrapped up in the story, and you get wrapped up in everybody else's characters, and that energy and community that you feel, while you're playing together is pretty unique, I think, to D&D.
And what's great is a 20 or or a 1 can be just as exciting. It's
Oh my
like
gosh, yeah.
it's like you're rolling hot for a few hours in the session or something, and then you just get that
Yes.
beautiful 1 on something that you really wanted a 20 on. It's like
You really
it's like
wanted.
the
Yeah.
camaraderie that builds too, because your teammates are even like, no, a 1, why? And then instantly, as a player, you're thinking, how do I help him? How do I back him up? What have I done wrong? What do I
Yeah.
do? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like a million things are bouncing around in
And I
your
mean,
brain
it's
to
just
like
that classic
rectify the situation.
Yeah, and it's just that classic of energy of like a big old bag of Doritos and a couple beers and like all your closest friends literally just like goofing off. And I think it bums me out to think that there are people that just have no interest in experiencing that ever.
Yeah. Well, and I think it brings a different side like out of your friends that you wouldn't normally see. I think it allows you to explore parts of your personality that you might not even like.
Yes.
You might not even delve that deep into who you are, but suddenly you're a psychotic rogue, and and you're like, I'm gonna kill that guy, and everybody's like, no, don't do it.
You're like, God, all this pent up aggression from my corporate jobs coming out.
My corporate jobs.
Well, that's a good
I'm gonna punch you hard in the face.
That's a good transition, actually, for the next question. What class did you think you'd like versus what class you actually have come to love?
Yeah, I always thought that it was like, oh, I'm definitely gonna like the warrior character who's like, he's super good at fighting and he's into swords, and I don't maybe that's common for a lot of people. But yeah, either the fighter, um, or the like a paladin character, that would just go around and just start swinging. Um, that's what I thought I would like, and my first character was very much like that. And the longer I've played, my second character is one that I've really grown to love because he's all the opposite things of that. And like he's he's not outspoken. He gets nervous when he has to make big decisions. I pretty much took that first character and said, okay, that first character was fun, being the fighter, and like he had some magic warlock elements to him. But I want to really change it up for my second character and do the opposite of what I think I would normally do.
Yeah.
And that's really the character that I've just really come to cherish, and I feel like is so close to my heart. Um, is because when I play him, I get to tap into that a little bit, and that's a lot of fun.
Well, tell us about that character. So you had Grog, the orc
So
barbarian.
I had Grog. Yeah, I had
who
Grog,
had a
the
tender
barbarian
heart.
orc.
Who had a tender heart, but he was all
That's
muscles,
true.
no brains.
All muscles, no brains.
then
Yep. And
Your
then
current character.
my first real character, like playing through an actual
Mhm.
like campaign, our first time around the mines of Fandelver, was Elric.
Elric.
And
Forgot about Elric.
Elric, I feel like that's like a very classic first like character mistakes, to where he had too much going on. He
Yeah,
had
you
too
tried
many
to double
classes.
class, didn't you?
I tried to double class.
Yeah.
I had like the funny mechanic where he was just a soul bonded to a suit of
'Cause
armor.
you're a bard
Um,
warlock, right?
I was a bard. Yeah. I was a bard
Yeah.
warlock.
Yeah, you
And
multi-classed a bard warlock.
uh-huh.
And then you had a very extensive backstory with it, which is Elric was
extensive
a great
backstory.
character. He was very Billy Butcher, the boys.
Very Billy Butcher.
Yeah.
Billy Butcher.
I forgot about
Oh,
Elric.
right.
That was a good one.
Oh, Elric. But he was hard to play because he just had so much going on.
Yeah.
And he had like the classic, like, you know, a band of raiders came into my village and they killed my family. And that's what made me want to adventure and leave my town.
Didn't side quest here? Didn't we get Elric married off to some random?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we introduced
that lady.
Funny random D&D moment. We introduced another character. His name was Steve, and he wanted to be a dwarf. So he popped up from under your floorboards in your house.
Out of the floorboard.
Yeah. I don't remember how we pulled all together, but a little side note about
Yeah, it
Elric.
was like a portal. He came from another dimension and like just popped up out of the floor.
Just a lazy DM
And
writing
Elric was
right
like,
there.
"Oh, mate, what are you doing here?
You're on our team now. What?
You're going on a team now. Come on, we're going on adventures." Oh man, yeah. So Elric, well, he was powerful because he just had a lot going on. He was hard to play from a role play standpoint.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned that I loved more than just like fighting or combat or using the cool, overpowered weapon or spells was really the character role play. And that's what my character that I play now, his name's Mert, and he's a turtle wizard, and he's my favorite.
Mert's the best.
And he
The best
yeah,
of us.
and Mert is the best of us. He's very altruistic. Like I said, he doesn't like to be the leader in the group. And that's kind of what Elric became.
Yeah.
Was just like very much like, all right, everybody, we're going here and we're doing this. And that got old in that first campaign. I got tired of like making decisions for everybody.
Yeah.
And so for Mert, I was like, nope, he's not going to make any decisions. And if you try to help like make him make decisions, he's going to go in his shell.
And that might be a great first player lesson is if you come into a game, don't feel that you have to lead the party. Because I think that's an easy trap to fall into, especially if you're already a charismatic player and a role player, for the party to kind of lean into that person at the table. And I think that it can wear that person out because all of a sudden, and I'm guilty of this, but the DM will start relying on that person to give them the quest notes or to, oh, here's a quest item that will lead you to your next thing. Here you go,
Right.
Mert, this is yours now.
Right.
And it almost it makes the other players lazy in a bit. So I think that that's a really good takeaway if anyone's listening as a first time player.
Yeah.
It's like make your character your own, and if you feel the other players, that's a good question. How have you, now that you've kind of taken more of a side step with Mert, how have you prevented yourself from taking the lead role?
Anytime where it, like, that kind of decision has to be made, like, all right, who's gonna like lead us towards the next quest point, like, I either just won't do anything, like I won't say anything, and I'll just kind of or I'll be like, Mert's like over here, he's chilling in his shell, and he's reading through his spell book. Or if anybody's like, because I've had players do that too, where they kind of like tried to push me to make a decision, and I did that on purpose with Mert, to where if you push him too hard, he gets anxious. He's like, like, nope, boomf, I'm going in my shell.
There was a good 30-minute session where Mert was in his shell and no one could get him out. Remember?
Because they were like, hey, we got
because of that reason,
go down this hallway,
and it worked.
Like, we got to go down these stairs, and it did.
Well, it makes the other players think like, all right, Mert's out of commission right now. It's like we either get him out of his shell in a violent way, or we figure this out ourselves. Yeah, I think that's a good.
I think you really stick to who you want your character to be, and you just role play that. And I decided that I didn't want Mert to be the de facto leader of the group, and I didn't want him to like have to make all the decisions. So when it comes to those moments, like, I just either don't do anything, or I do something else, or I be like, Aberrima Malachi, what do you think about that? Like, what do you think we should do?
Yeah, and I think we have 2 brand new players in our current campaign. So essentially, just a quick little note on this: we're doing a heavily homebrewed version of Saltmarsh, Ghost of Saltmarsh, and we have 4 players, and then myself, the DM. We have Mert, Shell Ward, a Turtle Wizard, Flynn Harlock, a Changeling Bard, who's Andrew, we've mentioned several times already, a Tabaxi Rogue, who is our buddy, our friend Buddy, who is first time player, and then our friend Evan, who plays a monk Haragon Rabbit Folk, which is probably one of the coolest characters I've seen created in a really long time.
Such a cool character.
And we got into our first session not kind of thinking about it, and we're like, oh my gosh, everyone's an animal except for Flynn. We're like, and none of you had discussed this prior, and it has become the funniest, goofiest party, but probably the most endearing and like sentimental party for me that I've ever had, because these characters are so good and so quality. I don't want to get too far away from us and how we got into this, but let's throw another question your way. Can you think of anything cringe that you might have done as a new player?
Oh gosh, I think Elric was definitely my cringiest character.
Yeah, he was too boisterous.
I was trying to make him cool and be like, oh, I'm gonna do the cool thing here.
Yeah.
I'm like, come over here and fight me. Like, he was just doing that all the time. And I think I definitely had some cringy moments.
I had one. It might have been the same character. I think I named him Storm. He was a Tabaxi, and they have very like nature themed names. So I believe his name was like Storm on the Water. I was being clever and like making a purple haze, kind of silly, whatever. But Storm was a Tabaxi rogue as well, because anytime I played Elder Scrolls, just like everyone else on this planet, I went archer and would go invisible and snipe someone from across the map. That's
right.
And then I would try to do another build later on, and I ended up being an archer again. So I was like, naturally, I'm going to be a Tabaxi rogue, and I'm going to shoot my bow and have a crossbow and daggers and stuff. And my cringe was that I was just so hell-bent on being a murder hobo, and not even realizing that was a thing. I didn't realize that murder hobo was like a term used in D&D to like label me, But I mean, I'd literally be halfway through dialogue with an NPC and look at Andrew and be like, I pull my dagger out. It's like why did I think that was okay? Why did I think that ruining Andrew would just be like, okay, like roll for it.
Right.
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, it never worked to my advantage.
Yeah. And I think that's something I learned with our first campaign, because our group was we were murder hobos.
Yeah.
you really lose so much of the world and the story
Yes.
when you're just running around fighting everything. Like you miss out on the chance to do something funny with an NPC or have a really funny interaction with an NPC, based on, the character that you've created.
Yeah. And I think too it comes down to the DM's planning as well. I mean, just from a DM's
Mhm.
perspective, because to walk into a session that doesn't really have a goal or any type of direction, it is so easy to just want to start picking on NPCs. And I think that that might just come from wanting something to happen, you know?
Mm.
So I think a lesson I've learned is to always give you guys something to do. Even
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
silly, like something must be planned. But yeah, I was a full-fledged cringy murder hope. I remember one session I just went up behind someone and slit his throat, and I rolled high and I did it. And Andrew was like, "Well,
Oh my God.
that guy's dead." It's like,
But that's the beauty of D&D
but I
is
think
you can
that
do
throat
that.
slit is what led me into the jail cell with you at that one session. Yeah.
Ah,
So
okay.
it
All
all
right.
came together.
It all came together. Yep.
Another. Let's just see. Do you see yourself playing D&D the rest of your life, or as long as your world will allow you to play?
Oh God, I hope so.
Yeah,
I really do. It's such it's such a good way, and I was talking about this with another friend of mine yesterday, that I think it's the healthiest form of escapism that you can have.
agreed.
Like if you're gonna escape reality in some way, you know, rather than just doom scrolling for like 3 or 4 hours,
Yes.
if you're jumping into a crazy world with your friends and you're being a silly turtle wizard for 5 hours and you're doing ridiculous stuff, but you're growing closer to your friends, you're having a sense of community, just in a wacky D&D world. I think that's the best form to get away from the crazy world that we live in.
I couldn't agree more. I think I've also seen a kind of a surge lately of parents playing it with their children.
Mm.
Using, and
Yeah.
there's even children modules out there now that I think is super cool. I was talking to somebody
Mhm.
at work the other day, and I was like, I play this, and there's some people that don't get it. Just honest truth, you tell them you play D&D, and they're very like, oh,
They're like, I'll
that's
never do
I'll
that.
never do that. That's so nerdy. That's so beyond me. But then there's other people that
Yeah.
like you'd never expect, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I was
Yeah.
chatting with someone about it, and they were like, oh, you play that? I was like, yeah. I was like, have you ever thought about playing with your kids? And they were like, no. I was like, you should. I was like, you be the DM and let your kids create
Yeah.
characters and play. I
Yeah.
was like, it doesn't have to be overly complicated. I mean, even our sessions, like we've removed, and for anyone listening, we are definitely more on the creative side on our playing and left less the math side.
The rule of cool.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, we keep a lot of the rules in place because I think they're necessary for the crazy hijinks
Yeah.
we get ourselves into, and spells
Exactly.
and sword play and all that. You need the rules. You
Mhm.
have to have the rules.
Right.
Player handbook is huge.
For sure.
Yeah, if you're a first time DM or player, you should at minimum skim through the player handbook and understand essentially what you're doing. But I think that it is so, like you were saying, it is such just a tool in this day and age where it is so easy to lose relationships with people. We've become so
Yeah.
isolated, specifically as a country,
Yeah.
that we're just so isolated.
Mhm.
And I mean, shoot, dude, like digital D&D saved my life during COVID. It was just like
Yeah.
being able to play and have sessions when the world was really crumbling around us. Um, yeah, I don't know. I wish more people could experience this. And I love, my favorite
Yeah.
thing is when I'm out in public or something and you see someone who has a D&D shirt on, or someone catches one of
Yes.
my wizard tattoos or something, and they're like, "You play?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like it's cool because it's just that shared
Mhm.
camaraderie of something that, I
Yep.
mean, a lot of people play it now, but I mean, there's still a lot of people that don't understand it, in my opinion, of like
Mhm.
how intimate and important it is. I don't know. That's my spiel on
Yeah.
D&D and why it's important for the
Well, I
universe.
think if you don't live close, I mean, you and I don't live close to each other,
Yeah.
but it's how we hang out now. Like it's how we
Yes.
stay in touch
Yeah.
is D&D. And it it's funny, but I don't like I don't feel like you're that far away because we
Yeah.
do D&D, like we talk about it, it just feels like we're hanging out.
And we don't even play as often as some of these cats do. Like I see people who
Yeah,
have weekly sessions. You know, I mean that's a
right.
dream if we could do a weekly session.
Yeah, right.
But I mean we probably play
That's a commitment.
once a month if we're lucky. You know, sometimes twice.
Hmm.
But yeah, it is definitely a connection, and the people we've met through it. You know, I mean Evan
Oh,
and Buddy
absolutely.
and how good of friends they've become, and I mean,
Right.
you know, we've always been stuck with Andrew. There's no getting rid of him. You know, he's like gum on the bottom of our shoe.
There you go, people. If you want to make friends, play
Play
D&D.
D&D. Yeah, buy yourself some dice. And hey, you know what? DM plug here. Run Lost Mines of Phandelver. Just do it. It's
It's a good
so
one.
easy.
It's
It's
a
so
great one to
good.
start with.
The characters are great. I love Gundren Rockseeker. So,
It's a
yeah.
good character. All right, let's dive into some questions for you,
Heck yeah.
DM, GM, whatever is non-copyrighted that we can say.
Whatever will not
GM.
get this video or audio removed.
Whatever will not get me a cease and desist.
I think Game Master is the appropriate
I
terminology.
think Game Master is the
Yeah.
term. All right, what pushed you behind the screen? How did you become a forever GM?
Probably like everyone, necessity, just because I wanted to play. I said if I can't be a player, then I'll have to facilitate it.
Yeah.
I remember Andrew moved away. So Andrew, we're going to talk about Andrew a lot because he's just been such a big pivotal part of this. He was our first.
Y'all didn't know this, but Andrew is the hub of this wheel.
He really
Maybe other
is. He
spokes.
brought all this together. Yeah, I mean, he exposed me
brought all
to
this
this
together.
to this addiction that is D&D.
Andrew exposed both of us.
Both of us, yeah. Andrew's the D&D drug dealer.
He is.
So
He got us hooked.
Andrew was our DM for a while in a physical table. That's where I learned was on an actual table, which I'm very thankful for that I didn't learn. Nothing wrong with learning in a digital table, but I think it was so necessary to see the beauty of it at a real table. So if you get a chance, all of you digital players, if you get a chance to play at a real table, do it, even if it's with strangers. Playing at a real table is beautiful. I will say playing digitally, though, is a whole nother ball game as far as technology and the things that we can use to make the world come alive, but that's neither here nor there. Andrew taught me at a real table. He lived with me for a little while, kind of during the COVID madness and before, but he got me hooked by just being like one day, "Hey man, you ever played D&D?" And I was like, "No," and I had all these preconceived notions of what D&D was, like kind of harkening back to what we were talking about, like that satanic, being heavily in the church, and me growing up in the church and all that, and kind of like, it's dark, it's evil, and he's like, "Dude, it's nothing like that. Like, it's so silly." He's like, "It's literally like a video game, but in real life." I was like, "Yeah, let's play." So sat down with him. We played. I was donezo. Like, I was just like, "Yep, murder hobo. We're playing. This is the most fun I've had in years. I'm done. I'm doing it." So session after session, we'd play, and we had a fun little group. And then he moved away, and then I just had a gap of D&D just for so long. I mean, a while. And so I was like, I was looking for online groups. I was looking for a place to play because I didn't even consider DMing. I was just like, that's so beyond me. Andrew was so creative with it. I can't do that. And then one day I was just like, I think I maybe rang you up or something, and I was just kind of like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure we were talking, and
I was like,
you were like, "Man,
let's just,
I really want
I'm
to play
gonna do
D&D
this."
again." Yeah.
So I was like, I'll DM it and let's get a crew together. And that's when we went Ocean's 11 and just started looking for people, and
We went Ocean's 11. We went Mass Effect.
yeah, we just pulled everybody we could. Yeah, he's like, "You son of a bitch, I'm
in." recruiting all my friends to play D&D.
And I just remember I ordered the player's handbook and I ordered Lost Mines of Phandelver, the physical copies, because I didn't even know D&D Beyond was like a thing at that point to have like the digital copies or any of that. So I got it all off of Amazon, ordered my first pack of dice, like all that, went all in. And I fell in love with the world building and the storytelling, and the goofy NPCs is probably one of my favorite things to do, is just to make ridiculous NPCs that are lovable, annoying. I don't really like making like angry or mean NPCs. I love making NPCs that the players fall in love with. That is one of my.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Oh,
You say
give it to
that,
me.
but you've made some mean NPCs.
Have I?
Yes.
I've made some annoying NPCs.
Galen.
Oh, Galen,
in Saltmarsh.
yeah, and I can't take full credit for him. He was written that way. That's not.
Okay.
Yeah, Galen was written that way. But
Yeah,
I did make him a
the
little
NPCs
more.
that you have created are usually not like.
Well, I mean, Galen does have my personality in him. I made him far more pompous than he is in the book. Like, he is rude. I forgot. Yeah, Galen, Saltmarsh character in our current campaign, almost got murdered in like his first few sentences because the crew hated him so much. They came from a little country town, Phandalin, and weren't used to this big, big city boy that they weren't into it.
But he was rolling deep. He had some guards around him that were ready
him
to deal with us.
Yeah. Galen wasn't.
And we got too
ready.
feisty, and I'm pretty sure that Mert is the one that saved us from that situation.
Yeah, Mert did pull us out of that one. But yeah, I think that pushed me behind the screen. It was necessity. I was so desperate to play. I didn't want to wait on anyone else to do it. I'll be honest. So I was just like, if I can find players, that's the easy part. World building and stuff I can handle. I think the D&D curse is scheduling.
Yes,
that was our biggest hurdle, and I think we finally got a pulse on that, even with this current crew.
Yeah.
So I think once I kind of accepted within myself that I could do this, I mean, I've got that first session under my belt, and then that first campaign out of the way, and then another campaign, and now finally we're in a campaign that I'm actually writing and homebrewing and creating myself, because I feel like I finally have the know-how and the wherewithal to do so. It is a whole nother world of loving it that I've not experienced in any of my prior sessions.
Well, and I think, me as a player, but our other players, like we can see that and we can feel that.
Yeah.
Because when we start playing, like, it's so much fun, and the world, like, it feels full and it feels built out. And I think very rarely in this campaign have we run across an NPC and you're like, oh, that's, Bobby Bellbottoms. And,
we did have one the other night, but I can't remember his name. I just did not give the son of a bee a name. It was like,
oh my gosh.
It was like Billy or something. I was like, Stacy. It was Periwinkle's mom.
Stacy. That's right. Yes, I think that's the first time though in a while.
First time y'all caught me off guard.
You're like,
well, in my defense, that whole
Stacy.
side quest was off guard. I had none of that prepared. Absolutely,
and that's
insanity.
also classic D&D.
Yeah,
for you DMs, your players are going to do things that you haven't, like, you're not going to expect at all.
They want to meet an NPC's mom. What? What?
Yep, and we're gonna go do that. We're gonna meet their mom, and you're like, I didn't plan for that, but okay.
And we'll see where that goes. God only knows.
We'll see where that goes. All right. What was your first big bad villain, and did they survive the party?
Yeah, I don't think I've had a big bad succeed yet.
No.
And unfortunately, most of my big bads have been the Black Spider because of Lost Mines of Phandelver.
True.
Yeah,
that's how many times you've done.
Yeah,
Mines of Phandelver.
Nazar, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. But yeah,
Nazar.
Big Black Spider, and the first session you guys cut his head off rather quickly. I allowed it to happen way too fast. Yeah. I think my first real big bad that actually gave y'all trouble was his accomplice.
Yes.
What was that wizard's name? That's gonna.
Because we ran into him.
Glassstaff. Glassstaff gave y'all a run for his money.
He was more of a big bad than the actual big bad.
And I learned a lot of lessons on that. So what I did differently with Glassstaff was I gave him. I think where I messed up with the Black Spiders, I leaned too much into the book, and I didn't give him enough of my own personality. Whereas Glassstaff, I was kind of like, oh, he's not as important as the big bad. I don't have to use the book as much. And I ended up giving him more of my personality. And I think that he used traps and tricks on you guys, and he actually escaped you guys the first time, which I hadn't done before with a big bad. And you guys met him with a dragon, fighting a dragon potentially.
Mhm.
which all of it swayed in your way, thankfully. But
Yeah.
y'all pushed him over a tower
Oh, and
edge.
that's true. We did throw him off of a tower.
Yeah, but it was worth it. It was a
But
good
I
it was a
think
good fight.
it was awesome, and I
Yeah,
think that's what makes a villain like that so fun and so fun to play against is, you're not just going to run in there and, beat him to death. Like
yeah,
you're going to have to strategize, you're going to have to think, and you're going to have to use, your different players' strengths in order to bring him down. And
yeah.
I think that's what made Glass Staff a lot of fun is that
Glass Staff was fun,
you incorporated a lot more of that.
and I think we're just hindsight's 2020 at this point, but just kind of a retrospect on the most recent Phandelver, which we just transitioned from. If you're listening, we just transitioned from Mines of Phandelver into Ghost of Saltmarsh. So I think the mistake I made with the last run in with the Black Spider was that I tried to give him too much personality. I almost went overkill to almost overcompensate for my previous Black Spider encounters. And so I made him monologue, and he was all tied up in one of the characters' backstories with Flynn and his family, and it just went on and on. And
We were so ready. We were so ready to kill that guy by the time.
yeah, and he
talking.
was pretentious, and he wasn't some of the, even in my, at least from my memory, the monologue just droned on, and it was I think it was an attempt to make him super hyper evil and just pump him full of personality right there at the last second.
Yeah.
Even though he's been in the shadows
Yeah.
the entire campaign. So
Right.
I
Because
think
you don't meet him until
to the very end, which I would instantly change that if I ever did
Yeah.
Phandalin again. Yeah. He would be forefront, like, marching the goblins into Phandalin or something crazy. Like I would instantly change how you guys meet him, and I'd give you a real reason to hate him because you don't really care much about him beside
No.
the fact that he's like trying to foil your plans throughout the whole thing.
And honestly, that's how he got treated when we
Yeah, you didn't care about him. You didn't want to
we squished
see
him like a spider.
and you did, yeah. And yeah, so I think that's something a takeaway that I really leaned into with this new story is I want the bad guy to haunt y'all's dreams. I want him to be something that you fear and something that follows you everywhere you go, and the NPCs are afraid of it. Like the NPCs are worrisome of what might happen, and I think that's something that if you can, as a DM, if you can kind of plant those small threads and slowly pull this villain into someone that the players care about, whether it be hatred or justice or whatever it might be, that's something I have wholly learned through those previous campaigns and just having a big bad.
Oh, that's good. And honestly, like it just makes it more fun to want to go after that
Yeah.
that villain and that big bad guy. It kind of keeps you on course because you're like, oh, I wanna find out what that dude's about.
If nothing
he's
else,
been
meet
popping
him.
up at random
Yeah.
points. Right. During the campaign, and we gotta get that dude. Hmm. This is a good one. Do you prefer serious storytelling, complete chaos, or both?
I'm definitely a both guy. But I will say, as of late, I've really pressed into the serious storytelling. I love the chaos the players bring. I don't think that I will purposefully ever bring chaos into the storytelling. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Players will always bring chaos into the story.
Yeah, I
I don't think any DM has to plan for that.
No, I don't think I have to add any more. I think it's fun to. I think the way I incorporate chaos is to add an NPC, and I think that it allows controlled chaos because I can control the NPC and how does the NPC stick around? Does the NPC leave? Do you guys tie the NPC up and put him in a closet? Like, it's like I think the storytelling is where I really have come to love, and keeping it serious. I think this story we're in right now it's very serious for what's going on around you guys, but there's been plenty of chaos.
Yeah. When I think the serious storytelling gives your players more of a chance to role play into that story.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big aspect of D&D that people can lean more into is it's really fun to think about, oh, how would Mert the Turtle Wizard, who's very altruistic, how would he approach this situation in the story? And that's a lot of fun, and it's fun
Yeah.
to role play that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think the more you can encourage your players to role play, and I think that a serious
mm,
story, and when we say serious, I don't necessarily mean like hard, like
right.
very stoic and boring. When we say serious, I think I mean more serious in the sense that like this story has serious depth, this story has serious
Right.
meaning, this story
Right.
has serious power to propel you guys
Mm,
forward. And I think that if you, at least from what I'm seeing in this current campaign, is if we have a more rounded off, serious story, the players role play far more than they ever
oh my
have
gosh.
before.
Yeah.
We've almost had
Mm,
no NPCs murdered. We've had
yeah.
no murder hobo
Which is impressive.
sprees, and
Which is
each
impressive.
session I feel like our players are more their character than they are themselves, which is so cool.
Yes.
And a
Yes.
little DM trick: once we're in session, I do not call any of my, and I'm sure many of you do this, but I do not call any of my players by their real names. I refuse. You're Mert the
Oh my
entire
gosh. I don't know
session.
if I don't know if I noticed that, but yeah,
Yeah,
you do
yeah.
that.
The only time I might call out your name is if like I just need your attention, to point you to
Uh,
something. But yeah, you're
I don't
Mert.
know. When we're playing, I'm
You're
Mert.
Mert.
I'm
Yeah,
Mert the
I,
Turtle
I
Wizard.
just do that for immersion purposes. I try to not call you guys by anything but your real names.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good. I
little
like it.
takeaway, little note for any
Yeah.
newbies out there.
Speaking of newbies, how do you make sure new players don't get overwhelmed? Because there's a lot going on
There's a
when
lot
you
going
first
on.
play.
There's a lot going on. I think
Well, and I'll say this too. What's overwhelming is the amount of choices you can make,
so
the amount
many.
of things that you can do. Like you
Hmm.
will walk into a town and, sorry, I don't mean to answer this question
No,
for
no,
you,
no.
but
You're a
you know,
player.
a,
Yeah.
you walk into a town and your DM's like, all right, you walk into this town, here's the scene, here's the setting, the floor is yours. What do you want to do? And I think for new players, you're like, oh,
Frozen.
like what do I want to do? Like I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's overwhelming in the sense that you don't understand literally anything is the answer to that question, and
Yeah,
and that's a hard concept to grasp until you get it, And I
right.
think the best way to do it, unfortunately, I mean, if you're a whole new table of people, even the DM, I think you just have to grow together in it. At
Yeah.
that point, I would say lean into the rules, lean
hmm
into the books and the stuff that you have
And there's a
because
beauty to that too.
yeah, because I know when we first started, I just thought, oh, I can do anything, but the DM was
Mm,
quickly like, you can do anything, but there are consequences to anything and everything,
right,
and you're gonna roll those
right.
dice, and we're gonna find out. I think to keep a player from not getting overwhelmed, I think pairing them up with a seasoned player is huge, if at all
Mm,
possible.
yeah,
I think as a DM, being super open to pausing gameplay and explaining rules. Don't worry about killing immersion at that point because this person has to learn.
right, right.
Um, a little silly thing I do with new players is I buy them a set of die, even if it's a little cheapo. It's usually just a cheapo Amazon set of die, and I ship it to their house. I think that is something just to kind of like be like, hey, you're in this now with us.
That's
So
awesome.
all my
Yeah,
players have been purchased a set of die at some point. Um, what else do I do that I think helps new players? A session zero. You have to have a session zero. If you're
yes,
not doing session
yes.
zeros, you're messing up big time. Just jumping straight into the campaign is wild. Um, Having a session zero, and sometimes like luckily, I feel like Evan and Buddy grasped it very quickly,
Yeah.
and I had you and Andrew there to help train them, and teach
hmm
them. So I had that luxury of having two seasoned players with two new players, and they could watch and glean
Right.
how you guys do it. But I always kind of treat like, at least with Lost Mines at Fandelver, I would treat that first session as a session zero because you're just fighting goblins. So we'd come into
Right.
it real slow, real easy,
Very, very low stakes.
and very much of, look at the new player and say, what do you want to do here? And then
hmm
whatever their response is, we just start teaching them that way. Okay, well, you're going to
Right.
roll perception here. You're going to give
Right.
me an
You roll
insight
for this.
check. Yeah. You're going to
Right.
roll an investigation check. Well, what does that mean? Then we tell
hmm
them. I mean, it's just a hand-holding thing, really, and you have to be
Yeah,
patient with it as a DM.
yeah. And I think just as a player, when you have new players, like it's fun to help them learn how to
Oh, it's
play,
a blast. I
unless you're
love
just,
bringing new people in. Yeah.
yeah, and just watching them, finally it clicks when they're
Hmm.
like, oh, okay,
That's what that
that's
means.
the pace. That's what that means. This is like when we roll up into a town or when we see, a pack of goblins, like there's I don't feel limited by the amount of choices. Now,
Hmm.
the amount of choices that I can make is a fun thing.
Yeah.
Once they grasp that there's not really a right or wrong way, but there's just a way, and any of those ways can be just as
Yeah, you
fun or
carve your
wacky
own
as any of the
path.
other ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you see that click, I think that's what I really like about playing with new players is watching that click in their minds. Um, yeah,
Well, I didn't do this on purpose, so I don't want you to think that I'm some wise wizard or anything, but something I've started doing too is having the player, if you cast a spell or something, you read to me what it does.
mm, that's smart.
So I don't have to go looking it up because I don't know every spell in the dang book.
Right.
It's insane. I don't know. I
But it
don't.
also helps them learn like what they have and
Well,
what they
they're
can
learning
do.
their character sheet. They're learning what
Mhm.
spell slots they have. They're learning what attacks they have. They're learning it by reading it back to me, and I'm learning it or
Right.
being reminded of it by what they're telling me. So I think
Right.
there's little like I don't know what you maybe like tool tips. I guess I don't know what you'd call them that I have like tried to implement in our sessions that maybe even you guys don't
Mhm.
realize what I'm doing is what I'm doing. So I mean, I still even do it with you. Like, well, what's the area effect on that? What do I need to roll?
Right.
Instead of me being like, oh, I'll roll this. Be like, you just tell me. It doesn't hurt anybody. It
Yeah.
doesn't slow the
Right.
process of the game
No.
any. I don't know. Things like that I think help new players a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think especially if you play a character like a wizard or a warlock
Hmm.
for your first character, you're gonna need to know that
So
stuff.
many
Like you're gonna
spells.
need to know what spells you have because like I think Mert at this point, like I literally do have a whole book of spells.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
No, you
he's
have it.
got
I was
so
I
many.
was scrolling through your
Uh,
character sheet the other day, and it's insane. Some of them
And
you
I,
haven't even used.
I don't. Yeah, there's a few that are my favorites. But yeah, there's a lot of them. But that's kind of the fun part. Sorry, this is another side
No,
quest.
I
That's the
love it
fun part about being a wizard. Is like I have spells in there that I'm just waiting for a wacky situation to be like,
to
I'm gonna
pull
use this
out.
spell
Yeah,
and see what happens. Like that's
yeah.
that's the fun thing
That's
about being a
that's that
wizard.
that's that chaos that you're talking about.
That's that chaos. Maybe now's a good time for fireball.
Yeah.
All right. Do you plan everything first, or do you just wing it?
I'm a planner, big time. There's
Hmm.
not a session I don't walk into where I don't have at least a full idea of where you guys are going. I mean, sometimes you guys catch me off guard. Last session, y'all caught me off guard with the meeting the mom thing, But I mean, we pulled it out of the hat. Um, but there are, I mean, I feel that I went into, and we use Telspire, so Telspire's great, and Telspire allows for the improv, if you will, because there's
Hmm.
minis everywhere. So if y'all were to go, I mean, let's take for example Malachi, our Tabaxi rogue, and Flynn have a random ongoing feud. We don't know why. They just hate each other, but it's hilarious. And
It just started that way.
Malachi decided this session that he wanted to roam the city and look for someone to put a bounty on to Flynn's head. Well, it's like I didn't DM didn't walk into that session being like, oh, Malachi's going to look for someone to put a bounty on Flynn's head. I had no idea that was. I
Decided to
don't even
do it.
know if
Yeah.
Malachi knew that until he decided.
Literally in the moment, he's like, I'm gonna put a bounty on his
So
head.
Malachi roams the cities, literally holding the session up, which is hilarious because he's like, am I stopping the session from? And I remember you said to him, you're like, no, man, this is your game. You do what you want to do.
Yeah, this is D&D. Like
Yeah.
you could spend the whole session not with the rest of the crew if you wanted to.
We'll wait
Like,
at
and
the
that's
boat,
fine.
or we'll leave on the boat
Yeah,
without
that's
you.
fine. Or we'll leave you,
Yeah,
and that's part of it
and
too.
that's part of it too. It's hell for the DM, but it works. Um, and Malachi just decided he found the most sketchy mini on the board on the side of the street and was like, "Hey, you do bounties?" And of course,
Hey there,
I'm gonna
you
play
know
into it.
about
He's
me.
offering 150 gold to a stranger, so of course he took the bounty. It's like it's things like that that I don't plan for,
Yeah.
but I think that we've played enough at this point that we can
Mm.
handle that improv. But there's not a
Yeah.
session I come into where I don't have at least 2 to 3 directions that could happen.
Mm.
Now, has that always
Right.
been the case and y'all have taken direction 4 that I didn't know about? Yes, it does happen. But I think that I think we've all gamed enough and we've played enough to know, like, progression of story, things like that. And I never want to railroad you guys, but I think that the fun part
Right.
of it is uncovering more of the lore and more of the story. And y'all have been
Yeah.
really good about following the clues and
Right.
taking the direction of the story. So yeah, I'm a big planner. I mean, I have NPCs for days. I have random NPC names. I have gosh, I have probably 15, 16 shops you guys can, and every shop has a shop owner. They all have a backstory. They all have items. So if you walk into the shop, I can talk to you as that shopkeep. Yeah. But if I weren't planning, it wouldn't be fun for me. Like that world building is what keeps the DM sane, in my opinion. Make your
Yeah.
world flavorful. Make it crazy. Make
Right.
shops that you may never even go into. I bet you didn't even know
Well,
or Saltmarsh has a bestiary. You can buy
yeah.
animals in Saltmarsh. It's like there. There's a
Well, and I think
there's a
that
music
when
store in Saltmarsh. You probably didn't know that.
right, and I
It's
think
like
that when your players decide, that they want to just hit the town and check
it's
out,
there.
just wander around, it's there already. And then, if your players know that when they're going to walk into a tavern or a store that, there's going to be an NPC in there that's fully fleshed out and, already has items in their shop and they don't have to watch you scramble to make something up. It makes the world feel like you really can go anywhere and do anything
Yeah, and
because,
that's the whole
you've
thing
probably
about
thought of it.
D&D. If you don't have that, and I get this is different on a physical table. I think that this is where digital
Yeah.
comes into play far more in our advantage for that talking point, because we do
Mm.
have Telspire and we are able to craft entire worlds your minis can walk around in. That's a lot harder to do at a table.
Right.
Um, just
It's a little
space
more
just
linear, I
space
guess.
constraints, yeah. And
Yeah.
maybe you don't have a 600 minis you can throw down. I reached the cap in Telspire the other day and they were like, you have 600 minis on the board, you could not place another mini. And I
Oh
had
my
to go around
gosh.
and delete minis.
Real explain what Tailspire is
Yeah,
and
yeah. We just
why
kind of started
we
talking
use
about
it.
it. So
Mm.
I discovered Tailspire back when it first came out, when we were trying to do this digitally, because I was like, there has to be a way. I didn't want to use a flat. Nothing wrong with like some of the flat VTTs out there, virtual tabletops.
Mm.
But I really wanted it to feel like a video game or something you guys were playing. And I'd seen some of these come into development, 3D digital stuff, but I was just scrolling Steam one day and saw it in early access, and I was like, oh, it's like $20 or something. I bought it, like, I'm not kidding you, a couple months after it came out. I bought it and just started building it. I was like, oh, this is like Minecraft but fantasy, D&D. And then
Yeah.
I found I got into the Discord, saw some of the people having conversation about it, what it was going to become, and they just started pumping out updates of like minis and like all these minis that we could have. And I was like, oh man, this is it. Like, this is it. And then, I started building my own worlds and stuff, which takes a lot of
Mm.
time. But then I found Tell's Tavern, which is a website that you can go and pull other people's boards into
Mm.
your thing. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I work a full-time job. I can't sit around here and build
Just building
these
worlds
tables all day.
Right.
So I mean, you have
Right.
full cities in Tell's Tavern that you can just import into Tellspire, and then
And well, in Saltmarsh, the one we play in is huge.
huge.
It's
And it's
massive.
got a beachfront. It's got like a full dock. It's got a full city.
Full size boats. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it
yeah.
has 600 minis in it. Like
When I think as a player, especially as a new player, when we first did Mines of Fendelver, it it still allows for, you have to use your imagination,
yeah,
because it's not an actual video game. So, at on some level it still has that element of D&D, but I think it gives a fun visual to the game to where, if you see a chest in a room, you can be like, "Oh, I want to go check out that
it's
chest." And it,
there.
it is something that you can go and you can look at
Yeah,
and, you can search. And I think for new players that does help a lot with
Yes.
decision making when
Yes.
you're new.
And it takes a lot of the weight off the DM of descriptions, having to like really like paint a very vivid picture. I mean, granted, I still love giving a solid description of the room you walk into or the NPC you meet. Like
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
something I love, like painting a picture for you guys. But when it's there in front of you and your mini can physically stand next to it, or you can see what kind of building it's in, or you can see what kind of shop that's been crafted, it takes the weight off of me from having to describe the scenery and focus more on the role play for you guys,
yeah,
which I think's been huge because you can see it. You see the docks.
right.
I don't have to sit there
It's
and
there.
describe to you the docks. You know, I can sit here and describe to you this stinky peg leg pirate that's about to cut your throat. You know, that's the stuff that I think is more
Right,
fun. Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, Tailspire's where it's at. Big advocate of it.
Tailspires, where it's at.
Who was your biggest D&D influence? Was it a friend, a DM, chaotic sibling with too much time, or maybe the monster manual? Just you by yourself? I guess culturally and then maybe personally, like what maybe influenced you to really love what D&D is? I mean, we're big
Mm.
high fantasy D&D players,
Oh yeah.
you know.
I mean, I've always been a massive nerd. I
Yeah.
mean, whether it be sci-fi, fantasy,
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, like I was the kid that was asking for swords for Christmas so that I could run around in the woods and chop stuff down.
Yeah. Yeah, same.
Like Aragorn was my idol, and I wanted to
Mhm.
be him when I grew up. And so, that was always something that I was into. And I think what really influenced me D&D wise was, I mean, you and Andrew,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
you guys definitely are the ones that got me into it and are the ones that have kept me in it. So, yeah, definitely friends. Culturally, I love all that stuff.
Yeah. It's such a pivotal
What about you?
part of my life. Yeah, I think well, we've kind of chatted about this in the past, but I think my like path to nerdom, if you will, was picking up VHS of A New Hope. I didn't know what Star
Mm,
Wars was as a kid. I didn't know any of this, and I popped it into the DVD player or DVD player, VHS player, excuse me. Even further back, aging myself there. VHS player and watching those opening credits roll out and be like, what is this? You know, like what? And then you see the ship flying and being shot
yeah.
at, and the droids being launched from the ship. Like that was so foreign to me as far as like entertainment, I guess. I was finally old enough to comprehend it
Hmm.
and understand it, and I wanted more.
Right.
And then I realized
Right.
there were two other films to watch. I was like, oh,
You're like,
more,
there's
please,
more of
yeah.
this.
And
Give
then
me
my
more.
and then I remember my mom bought me The Hobbit, and I read The Hobbit, and
Yeah.
I was like, there has to be more of this. And she's like, oh, but
Mhm.
wait, and hands me the complete all three books of The Lord of the Rings into my lap, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, and I'll say too, like I think my parents also influenced that a little bit too, because my dad, he read The Hobbit
Uh
to
huh.
us.
Yep.
Like he'd take an hour before bedtime and sit down and read a chapter of The Hobbit. And I remember like you just get so caught up and sucked into that world as a kid because, your imagination just is going
Yeah.
wild. And then, I read the Lord of the Rings books and then uh the C.S. Lewis Lion
Mm-hmm.
Witch in the
Yep.
Wardrobe series. I was
All
super into
that.
those.
Dune,
Um,
I mean, besides it being
Dune.
odd and weird, still great, like sci-fi, fantasy, like,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, Lord of the Rings, and then, I'll be honest, even before that, I forgot till just right now, but the Redwall series, man,
Oh, I read those too.
anything Brian Jakes, all the little animals,
Yes,
and I still read them. I'm rereading Martin the Warrior right now, and it's
it's
I
amazing.
think I have all of his collection besides like two of them, which I just need to Amazon and get them here. But it's
Yeah,
like those books set me on a
I forgot.
path.
I
Yeah,
forgot about those books, and I
man.
read those. The Red Wall, like I read those early on.
Yeah, because they're easy to
And our
read.
crew definitely we have Redwall vibes
Redwall
with all the
vibes.
animal characters that we have
And I just
going
remember, I
on.
remember being a kid and reading those in like middle school during like quiet time. You know, they'd turn the lights off and stuff and like make you sit
Mhm.
on those. You remember those big plastic mats they ever make you sit on? I don't know if you ever
Yes.
experienced that. Yeah, but I was sitting there and I'd be reading these books and they'd be singing those songs and talking about the massive plates of food in front of them, because that was one of the big
Hmm.
things in those was all the food, you know,
Yeah.
and the cooks and the chefs and I love that, because I think that I love bringing the food into our D&D universe too. Like the taverns all have
Yeah.
plates and menus and ales, and you know, Fork, one of our goblin NPCs, loves to cook and he's a chef and makes crazy dishes, and stuff like that has always stuck with me because it was so descriptive. And I remember mouth-watering reading some of these dishes, that, you know, plum puddings and like, you know,
You're like,
all
this
these.
made me hungry.
Yeah, I'm like Brian Jakes did such a beautiful job with that. And I don't know, that those books, maybe even more so than Lord of the Rings at that age, put such an imprint into me of like,
Mm.
man, this is how the world should feel, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say when fall winter time rolls around,
Yeah.
our taverns, they feel cozy.
They feel cozier than
Real
this.
cozy.
And I'll say that too.
Having
Winter
food
D and
going
D
on.
is so much different than summer D and D. Don't get me wrong.
Oh
It's
yeah.
all the
Summer
same to some
D&D is
degree,
fun.
but there's
But when
something
I can like come
special.
down here and I can bundle up and I can have like a nice dark stout beer
Yeah.
to make me warm on the inside,
Yeah.
and then we just hold up for 5 or 6 hours and play D&D.
It's different in the winter for
That's
sure.
good. Yeah, that's the good stuff right there.
What's next for your journey in the world of D&D? Any kind of
Mm.
goals, um, dream campaign setting, uh, merch empire, you know, um, getting a second D20 tattoo. I have a D1 tattoo.
Ah,
um, I guess to phrase this question is like, so, you know, we've been playing for years now. We have a really solid session going. We have a really solid
mm.
crew going. As this continues, I mean, what do you want to do with D&D? I know we're starting this, which is fun for us, you know, and I don't
Yeah,
have
well,
any, I don't even know where
I
this
think
is going. You know, we're just talking about
mhm,
something we love together.
right. Well, I think that's what it feels like the next step for me
Yeah.
is we have a really good crew and we're having tons of fun when we play, and all our characters are just they jive really well like we always have. You have your slower sessions, but I feel like we always have a fun session.
Yeah.
And I think the next step for me is this. I want other people out there in the world in internet land to have those same experiences and to know that they can have those same experiences,
Yeah.
and to share that with people. And I want to share our characters. Like I love Mert and
Yeah.
I love Aberama and Malachi and Flynn,
Yeah.
and the funny NPCs that you've made. Like I think I want to share that with other people so they can see just how fun D&D can be, and it can really be
Yeah.
whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I second all of that. And I think that for me as a DM, I love the campaign we're in right now. It's the most fun campaign we've had yet. Pirate theme is a blast. Having that mode of transportation is so cool. Um, it's just those little details that have made this campaign so awesome. And I think that the idea that each of your characters have really just cemented themselves into that has been cool to watch. As far as like campaign setting, I'm excited to see where it goes from here. I hope that this crew
Mm,
sticks with us for years to come.
yeah.
I would love to get into like snowy mountains eventually, like something like that.
Ooh,
Maybe
yeah.
more like dwarven lore, some stuff like that. I'd love to like dig into.
That would be cool.
Yeah, we've done a lot of like very bright country settings. I feel like, you know, we had like Phandalin, very country, hilly, grassy,
Mhm.
foresty. Now we've had the ocean and the sea that we're really digging
Uh-oh,
into.
are we about to take the crew into the Underdark?
I would love to see, yeah, something darker, a little more,
Is Mert about to get extremely claustrophobic?
yeah, a little more hazardous. I think would be a cool
Mm,
campaign setting. And as far as this, I think it's important, and I know so many people are doing content creation, and you know, I feel like feel like D&D is in a crazy renaissance right now. Like, it is just exploding. I mean, you can buy dice anywhere. You know, there's so many amazing creators out there doing dice and modules and lore, and I mean, even just like art, you know, spells. I've seen like cool like spell prints you can buy, or like Wizard of Barg, one of my favorites, like t-shirts that I buy from all the time. And I don't know, there's so much D&D content out there. I don't know if we're necessarily special, but I do think that we're very normal, and I think that that's what sets us apart as far as like we just play D&D, you know.
Yeah.
And we've been good friends.
Regular dudes.
Yeah, we're just super regular. Most of the time we don't know what we're doing. I don't know what I'm doing as a DM. I learn every day from a lot of people out there, the internet, and you know, I learn from the players. You know, it's just like I don't really have a set huge goal outside of just keeping this going and making it fun, and hopefully letting other people know that like this is something you shouldn't miss out on. Like, if you love D&D and you have the chance to do this with your friends, just go do it. Like,
just dive
don't
in.
worry about being embarrassed. Don't worry about you can do it. You can do it cheap. There's free modules out there. You can just download on the internet, you know. And
The chances are high.
maybe we can link some of these, you know, some of those things that we found over the days of doing this. And
yeah,
I just want to be a better DM every time we play, and I want you guys to have a blast, because I have so much damn fun. It's the one thing that I look forward to. I mean, I take off work for D&D days. Like, that's how intense I am about it. It's like I don't go to work that day because I don't have time to think about work. I'm sitting here thinking about the session that night, you know.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best feelings I've had in a long time with D&D was literally our last session, which we had last week, and you guys, we were in this huge battle, one of the biggest battles we've ever done, and I was like, you know, one of our players had to bow out, which is totally understandable. We were pushing like 2 a.m. Central, and I was like, all right, guys, we can call it. And the rest of you were like, no, we're seeing this through. And y'all had never done that before. Usually, you know, if someone bows out, but you guys are like, no, we're doing this. And I was like, okay, that's a really cool thing to be a part of. Yeah.
Well, that's how you know people are having fun.
And that's what it's all about.
I think that's what I hope to always continue doing, is just having fun with characters, you know, trying to like switch it up and do different things, you know, not necessarily pigeon myself into a certain, you know, oh, I only like these types of characters. Like I would like to just, you know, dive into the whole plethora. I already have an excellent backup character in case anything happens to Mert.
You never know.
You never know. It can happen.
I guess now, you know, a little call to action. If anyone does listen to this, I guess it's your turn. Tell us how you rolled into D&D. We'd love to hear in the comments or messages. You can find us at We Are Armed and Dangerous pretty much everywhere. We want to hear any cursed origin stories. Yeah, right there behind Josh. Send it to us. We'll probably read things in future episodes. So if you've got good stories, we'd love to do user submission stuff. We don't care if you've played for 10 years or 10 minutes. You know, we want to hear about it. Hit us up. We are super chill, super normal, and we just love being nerds. Anyway, hit us up. We want to hear from you.